Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to reassemble and lube a 6x6. I'm going to be using this MGC 6x6 over here as a cube for reference, but this should work on most 6x6s since they all have a similar mechanism. So please note that this process of fully tearing down and cleaning out and reassembling the cube takes a good couple of hours. It'll take you at least 4 hours total if you're doing this the first time. So be sure you have the time to commit to it and a safe place to keep all the pieces so that they don't get lost. And yeah, so let's get started with that. Now the first step is you take out one piece. You take out a second piece, you take out a third piece, and then keep going until, well, that happens. So yeah, now that we have the 6x6 fully broken down, the first step that we will be doing is to clean out the cube completely. So that means you take either a tissue paper or a toilet roll. You're probably going to need lots of it, and you're just going to wipe down the pieces. And try and get all of the little wedges in the middle of the inside the piece with the tissue paper until you get rid of all the dirt from there, and make sure to wipe out all the excess lube as well. Now, since we are going to be adding our own lube, we want to make sure that there's none left over from the previous setup of this cube. So yeah, let's finish that up first. Okay, now that the pieces have been wiped, I've just done some preliminary sorting. So there's wings and corners, centers and internals, and here's the core. Of course, it doesn't have to be perfect when you wipe it. Some people like to just dunk all the pieces in water. I haven't really done that, but you can do that if you like to if you want to be more thorough. But yeah, so the first thing that we are going to do is set up the core, and then we'll reassemble the cube and add lube from there on. So to set up the core, you first have to unscrew all 6 of the sides. Okay, now that we have the core disassembled, we can begin to start lubing it up. So I will be using Cubelelo Nucleous for this. You could use mostly any heavy lubricant, maybe around weight 4 or 5. So in this process, the main areas that we will be touching with the lube are the spring over here, then and this ring over here, where this section of the core touches that, because when you turn the side, this part rotates around in that socket area. So we want to add some lube over there. We're mostly touching all the contact points, and the core lube's main purpose is to stop spring noise. So we're using a heavy lube so it stays there for a long time, because you don't want to open the core very often. So what we'll do is you start by taking the syringe of lubricant, and then you just apply a good amount along the spring like that. You could apply a generous amount over there. Then you put it inside and point at the ring over there and apply a decent amount of lube around the ring like that. And then you could put the part back in and rotate it around a little bit so that the lube spreads nicely. Okay, and now that we've done that one piece, one side, we can do it with all the remaining 5. Okay, now that I've applied lube to all of the core pieces, we can start by screwing them into the core. So the way you want to do this is, first you screw the first piece in. It doesn't have to be go all the way in, just enough that it doesn't come out on its own. Then you go for the opposite side, and then using those two as a support, you can do the rest of the pieces around the other axis. So we start by putting in the first piece like so, and then just put the screw in. Then we go for the opposite side and put that in as well. Okay, now that those are in a decent amount, we can go for the others that are around here. Okay, now that we have the core back together, we can try to deal with some tensions. These just need to be some very basic tensions to make sure that like the sides are more or less evenly screwed in. We can get to the more specific like fine tuning when we have the entire thing reassembled. So first of all, how you the rule of thumb to go by these tensions is you take the two opposite sides and pull them apart and see how far it comes out. That is how wide this gap over here becomes, and you try to adjust the screw such that on all sides that space is more or less the same. Now while we are reassembling the cube, it would be easier to have it on the looser end, but for now we're just trying to make sure that all sides have the same tension. So we could start by a similar loose tension and then we can make it tighter later on. So okay, now for the reassembly part. So while disassembling the cube, you might have noticed that there's three types of internal pieces. There is this wider one, and then these two smaller ones. One of them has this sort of like double step formation on the back of it, and the other one just has one edge over here. So how it works inside the cube is you have these two pieces that fit on top of each other. They both go on one. Oops, just pick that up again. They both go on one side of this piece over here, of this white piece over here, and then on the other side you will have another such set of those two pieces, all combined to give these like 5 pieces that will look like this. And this goes in between two of the centers like that, and so you have 12 such sets like this that will go all around the cube, which we shall be putting in during the reassembly process. Now the hard. Okay, so now we can start with the actual reassembly. Now I realized that like the previous tensions that I had were a little bit too loose for these pieces to actually fit effectively, so I've tightened them all by a bunch. You can adjust your tensions like during the reassembly as well, just to make sure that the pieces actually, when you put them in, that they stay there. Just make sure to do the same thing to all 6 sides. So now that we have this set of 5 over here, what you're going to do is you're going to try and fit them in between two centers like that. Now one or two might fall out, so you're mainly trying to hold it in place with 2 fingers like that, and hold most of them in place, and then you could try and fit the last one in like that. So in the end you should have something like this. So these 5 pieces in between the 2 centers all like stuck together. And so the hard part in reassembling the cube is to get this and another such set like this, because once you get those two in, you'll start putting these more of these pieces into the cube, and then it should it should be supported on its own like that. So now that we have one over there, I'm going to carefully put that in, and then create another such stack over there that would go on the other side like so. Okay, and now that we have this, hold it very carefully and then put it on any adjacent set. Now there is a chance that while putting in the second one, the first one falls out slightly. You want to try hard to avoid that. It might happen a few times. Don't get discouraged, just try again. But yeah, so try. Oh, oops. Yeah, it fell out like that. So yeah, it might take a few attempts to get this right the first time, but yeah, you'll just have to try a few times and you'll get it eventually. Okay, let's go for the second attempt. Oh, it took a few attempts, but I finally got the second one in. Now a tip that I would want to give here is you want to be supporting the first one with one hand, like on the back over there, and maybe like your thumb over here, while you are sliding the second one in from the side over here, because the main problem is that when you're sliding this in from the side, the hand that you're holding it with will push this, and like only with a little bit of pressure, the thing, all 5 of the pieces might come out. So yeah, now that you have these two in, it'll be a bunch easier. So what you would want to do is first take one of these kinds of centerpieces, the ones that go in the middle 4, and you want to slide it in like that, and it should lock between the two edges over there. Now that you have these two sets of pieces filled up, it's time to complete the rest of this octant of the cube. So to do that, you take one of these center pieces that goes in the middle 4, and you just slide it in between over there, and it should just lock over there. Then you'll have 2 different kinds of pieces like this that would go on either side of it, of this center piece over here. So there'll be one with the base stem facing left, and the other one facing right, if I can find one that faces right. Okay, there we go. So like one facing left and one facing right, and for these two, all you'll have to do is slide it on either side of that centerpiece over there, and then you'll have this piece over here, which will go on the side to make this 2x2 over here. Okay, now that you have this piece, what you want to do is you want to take this combination of inner and outer wing that would be joined up by magnets, and you're gonna take 2 such like blocks like this and put them on either side of these pieces. Now for the corners, when you're putting the corners in, you have to be careful that the corners are facing the right direction, otherwise the cube might be unsolvable. So for this, what I would suggest doing is just look at where the corners are relative to each other and make sure that the cube is solved in that way. Like, I'm not assembling the cube solved, as you can see, but I will just pay attention to the corners and make sure that the corners are solved relative to each other. So if we have this white one facing down, then I'm going to have this other white corner, and I'll remember to put it on the back over there. Then this other white corner with the blue will have to go over here, because you can see white and blue over here. This one will have to go there, and so on and so forth. So you just need to pay attention to the corners. And so now that we have this base over here, we will have to try and gradually build up from it. So what you first want to do is take another block like this and place it on top of the corner like that. Then you want to take one of these kinds of pieces and just slide it gradually into place above the other in this slot over here. It might either go on the left or the right. While you're doing this, you want to be careful that the rest of the core doesn't slip away, because there's nothing to lock it in from the top. So just hold it on the back over there, slide that in, take this piece over here put it next to that, and then you just need to fill in the top too. So you have this piece that goes on top, and the other one corresponding to that. It's this one. Is it this one? No, it's the other side. Yeah, it's this one. And you'll slide that in over there. So as you can see, we've almost finished this section. Now to go over to the other side, you do a similar thing. Wow, I'm finding a lot of pieces only on one side to these. So you put that in there. You put this corner piece in there, and then you put the remaining two on the top. And you have solved and you have created you have finished 1/8 of the cube on the outer pieces. And to lock it in from the top, we'll fill in the internals right above this, so that this area gets sealed in. So we can start by putting the wide piece on top over there, and then find a set like this to surround it on one side, and just slide that in carefully. Don't put too much pressure. Make sure that these pieces in the back here don't start like being pushed out too far. And then you find the pieces for the other side, like so. Okay, and the second set of pieces over here go on the left side. And just like that, we have one octant of the cube all done. As you can see, we have the internals that surround the actual outer pieces, and so they're locked in on all sides. Again, make sure you don't have a thing like this where you can see the internals are coming out a little bit further out than the center itself. So if that happens, just slide it in a little bit gently, so that so that there's just a straight line over here and on every side. Okay, now that we have this section of the cube done, we want to create another set of 5 internal pieces together, like so. And we want to slide it into another position that is adjacent to this corner. Again, we have to be very careful not to bump the actual internals over here, because if they go too far out of line, it'll just ruin a bunch of things. So how I like to do this is, you can have the core like resting on the table like this, with the corner section done as a support, and then try to gently insert these pieces into the top layer. So sometimes you could start by having 4 pieces over there minus the topmost one, then move this top center around, and then carefully slide in the last piece. And again, like check the other sides, make sure that it's not bulging out anywhere, and like that you can get another set of pieces in. And then just like we did with that side, you start to fill in the center, fill in the external pieces here. Okay, now that we have the corner filled in, we can begin to put the internals on the top there, just like we did with the other side. So again, you put the wider piece in first, and then you find the pair that will go on one side, and you carefully put that in, and then you find the pair that will go in on the other side. and carefully put that in. And then you just quickly look around, make sure that there is no side that is bulging out. You can hold it by the opposite corner like that, but yeah, just don't swing it around too much. Okay, it's bulging a little bit, and it looks good. So now that's a quarter of the cube done. Now the next step would be to fill in this side with the internals, but I've done it a bunch of times now. This should be easy enough. I could speed past this now. So now we just fill in the pieces. And now we fill in the internal pieces on the top over there. Okay, there we go. So that's half of the cube done. It's pretty good progress. Again, I'll draw your attention to the corners. Now I did one of them wrong, but we can easily fix that. Like if we do the other ones correct relative to the to this one, you can attempt to twist the corner while this cube is half assembled, but it's very risky. I mean, it bulged out like that many pieces, but yeah. So now we'll move on to the rest of the cube. Okay, so let's continue with the rest of with the second half of the cube. So again, this time, instead of trying to build the whole block and insert it together, since we've got this proper base over here, we could try and we could directly build it inside the structure of the internals. So you could start by stacking the two pieces there, then put the white piece on top, and then put the other two like so. And we have that one, and then continue by filling in some pieces around it. That's not how it goes. It goes here. So we could fill out all the pieces till here around it. Okay, so I have filled out this wall on this side over here, so we can see one entire face of the cube. The second face of the cube after this bottom one has been completed, and then I'm going to keep filling pieces until I hit this section where we'll have to fill the internals. And there we go. So I've filled out the pieces till here. Now all we have to do is fill in those internals over there and there, and we will have a mostly completed cube, and then it's only the last part. Okay, there's the internals. So that was just like filling in more pieces like that. You don't need to specifically join them together and then put it. You can just build it directly in the slot. And let's finish up the rest of the cube. So I'm going to assemble this. I'm going to assemble the entire thing first, and then I'll remove a few pieces that we'll specifically need to deal with for the lubing, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So first of all, I am going around and putting all these pieces in the corner inside. Again, it's just just keeping in mind the orientation of the corners. As we can see on this side, all the four corners are yellow and white, and on this side as well, all the four corners are only yellow and white. Again, a two corner swap is possible on a 6x6 if that turns out to be the case later on. It wouldn't be on a 7x7 or a 5x5, but it's fine for a 6x6. So I am going to go ahead and reassemble everything around here except this top section over here. We will do that with the along with the internals at the same time. So let's fill in the pieces around it for now. And there we go. So that's all the pieces around here filled. I have left all the half of the center on the top and these wings in front over here. Now we just need to fill in the last set of internals, and then we can fill in the rest of the remaining pieces. So what we do over here is, you see, while we filled in these centers, it created a gap over here, and it's easier in this step to just drop the internals in the correct order into the gap. So that's the first piece, that's the second piece, then this is the wide piece. Now be careful because these wedges, edges that stick out of the bottom of the piece have to lock in behind the corner, so you might have to pull it apart a little bit. Then you put that over there, and then you hold that with one hand and put the last piece, slide it on top very carefully. You might need to hold it at a little bit of an awkward angle to push it in, and there we go. And now all we have to do is put the remaining pieces inside. And now to do this step, you have to be a little careful so that these pieces don't fall out of here, or these other internals don't move around. But other than that, the rest of the assembly is pretty easy. You can start by filling in the wings first. So that's that. Those two pieces, and then these two on this side. And then for the top, you can put one finger on the internals, they don't slide around, and one there, the other one here, and that one. And for the last corner, put that there, put that there, put that there, and this, and there we go. That's the full 6x6 assembled. Okay, so now that the cube has been assembled, what you should try to do is do like a couple of turns of these innermost layers. And now what I'm getting over here is this weird little locking effect where it like seems to not move forward. I believe that's caused due to these screws over here being too loose. So all you have to do for that is just put them in a bit more tight. Again, make sure to do the same tension on all the sides so that like it's evenly tensioned. You can evenly tension it later on. But yeah, that's usually the cause of the problem, which I'll do right now. Okay, so I tightened it a bunch and now we don't have that locking problem anymore. It still turns pretty poorly because I haven't applied any lube yet. But yeah, at least it turns decently well now after fixing the tensions. Okay, so now for the lubing of the cube. For now, I'm going to be using Cubelelo Classic and Cubelelo Hurricane. If I'm using Classic for more of the internals of the cube and Hurricane for more towards the outside since it's slightly lighter. You certainly don't need both if you have either one of them or like something along the lines of weight 2 or weight 3. You could use that for either of them, and as an option you could put like a really light piece lube like Maru lube or DNM 37 or like Angstrom 5 or something, like just like a drop or two on the pieces, but I'll just be using these two. So what you want to do first is you're going to remove a few pieces. So you start by removing this piece here and then this one, basically like an entire quarter of the cube on the top half. So it's that and there. And then in addition to that, you want to get like these 3 internals out. So one of each type. This part can be a little bit tricky without disturbing the rest, and you can remove a few extra pieces, but wouldn't put any lube on them. And the last one, just drop it out. Okay, so basically all we need to do to lube this cube is we just need to work with this section over here and whatever we can see from there, and just put piece lube along onto these and put them back in. So we're going to get started with Cubelelo Classic over here. I'll be using Cubelelo Classic to mostly do the inside and the internal pieces, and then I'll put Hurricane on the rest of the pieces. So we can start going all the way down there, and along this line that is exposed in the deep side, just put a line of lube over there. Be careful not to put too much. It just has to be a little bit of it, a little line along along the inside. Okay, then once that's done, you take this internal over here and just try to get a little bit of lube along all of the contact points. So there's one over there, then a little over here, all the way along that. And then as soon as you're done with that, carefully put it inside the cube. Then the one that goes on top, you can hit the top bump over there, or one edge over there. Only the top two, because the other one already has lube attaching from that side. And you put that on there. And then finally this one over here, you put a little bit over there and a little bit on the back surface. And you put down the syringe first, and then you slide that in very carefully. Okay, and there we go. And that's it for classic. I'm going to be using Hurricane for the rest of it, but you can keep using Cubelelo Classic for the rest of it as well. I just have this personal preference. Okay, now for the final stretch. So you want to take the lube over here. First we will start with the corner, because the corner is the one that's a little hard to insert inside. You want to hit the bottom of the stock over here. The focuses, yeah. So you want to hit the bottom of the stock. So just try and get a little bit. Oops, that's too much. 1 second, I'll wipe it off. You don't want to put too much, otherwise it will be too gummy. You can start with a little bit and then add a little bit more later on. So wipe that down and add some in there, and we can put the corner back in. Okay, so now that the corner is back in, we can continue with this piece over here. So this outer wing, you just put a little bit on the back of it over here, and you spread it a little bit, and some on this side here, and some over there. Just again trying to hit all the contact surfaces, and we can put that back. And then for this one, you can try to get some on the back over here, in this groove over here, and then on the sides as well. And then we can slide that back in. And then you can put the rest of the wings back. You don't need to put too much more on them. Oops, maybe I should have put this one in first. So like that. Put that back. And finally for the centers, you don't need to do too much, just on the stalks over there. So you put that inside. And then this one, and slide it in. Then this one, you don't need to put anything on that. And then finally on the base over there, and slide the last piece in. And there we go. Okay, so I've gone ahead and solved it for now. Now the lube seems to be setting in a little bit as I turn it more and more. It's starting to spread across the pieces. You don't need to put in a lot extra. Of course, it's easier to add lube little by little rather than just wiping it out. You just saw how long it took to reassemble the entire cube after cleaning it out. So yeah. For now, I'll just be playing with the tensions a little bit more, just to make sure that it feels right and not too tight or too loose, and be breaking it in a little bit more, and then I'll come back with my final thoughts. I've been using this cube for about a day now, and I've done about 20 solves on it till now. Near the start, the cube was really stiff, but that started to improve a lot as I did more solves. I also went and added a small drop of Cubelelo velocity to each of the layers. So like you pull the cube apart a little bit and then add a small drop of lube inside. And that seemed to contribute a lot to them opening up. I still have to bake this in more, but now I'm getting solves close to my global average. So yeah, the lube setup worked quite good. Thanks for watching and I'll see you all soon.